under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Richard.
Okay.
Camera running?
Oh, no, we don't
not
have
on
to.
yet.
We're live.
Oh, we are live. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we're live.
Thank you for checking. We'll go somewhat out of order tonight, but there are no remarks from the chair tonight. We'll do grants, gifts, and donations. Acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Council on Aging, $100 from Bob and Sheila Haynes.
Move to accept?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Police Department, Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Municipal Speed Feedback Signage Program, award of 3 speed sign data collection units.
Motion to accept?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Acceptance on behalf of the IT Department, $20,000 Community Compact Cabinets Information Technology Grant Award.
Motion to accept?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Fire Department, $100 from Danya Melanson.
Motion to accept.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Fire Department, $2,500 from Paul Garish from the Garish Family Foundation.
Move to accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think is Mr. Sabatino here. We're gonna take him out of sequence. He's not here. We had a public hearing that was supposed to start at 7:15. But I think that,
You wanna do the clam licenses, go through them quickly?
Yeah.
yeah, we can do that quickly.
Do them all together?
We'll skip down. I'd like to read all the names. If you have an issue with a name, flag it, and we'll go back to it and discuss it, okay? We're reviewing and approving the 2026 commercial clam permit renewal applications. So I need a motion.
Move to review and accept the 2026 commercial clam permit renewal applications.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, we'll hold discussion. Alexander Maxon, 7 Myers Lane. Alexander Montero, 2 Hanover Street. Augustus Campitelli, 12 Main Street. Ben Colby, 158 Elm Street. Charles Colby, 142 High Road. Charles Colby Jr., 56R Central Street. Cody Nixon, 12 Newbury Neck Road. David Elwell, 48 Fruit Street. David Morse, 119 Main Street. Frank Bennett, 131 High Road. Frank Hoysrat, 35 Old Rowley Road.
Fred Hoist.
Fred Hoysrat. Thank you. Gavin Colby, 56R Central Street. Jacob France, 1 Hawk Haven Way. Jay Dodge, 45 Fruit Street. Jeffrey Janvin, 32 Forest Street. Jeffrey Thurlow, 132 High Road. Jeffrey Thurlow Jr., 164 High Road. John Short, 120 Main Street. John Thistlewood, 538 Main Street. Josh McKinnon, 3 Brock Ave. Joshua Dodge, 45 Fruit Street. Kyle Adams, 42 Cottage Road. Laura Colby, 171 Hay Street. Leonard Dobson, 12 Right Rear Old Point Road. Mason Colby, 56R Central Street. Michael Nixon, 12 Newbury Neck Road. Noah Merrill, 131 High Road. Paul Thistlewood, 26 Central Street. Peter Thistlewood, 26 Central Street. Robert Fournier, 15 Spring Hill Road. Robert J. Colby, 171 Hay Street. Stephen Wood, 9 Lund Street. Thomas White, 36 Downfall Road. Timothy Castine, 6A Rogers Lane. William Papulius Jr., 48 Cottage Road. William Short, 145 Main Street. Any discussion on any of these names that I read off? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, it passed. And we'll do the review and approve 2026 new commercial clam permit application.
Mr. Chair, I move that we review and approve the 2026 new commercial clam permit applications for James Kennedy at 40 Cottage Road. That's my motion.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, it passed.
Got 10 minutes.
We still have 10 minutes. Review and approve 2026 short-term rental applications. So let's have a motion for that, please.
I move that we review and approve the 2026 short-term rental applications as read, as one. We can put a hold on them if you want.
Second for that, please?
Second.
Okay. Eleanor Godin at 59 Northern Boulevard, permit STR-26-001. A.R. Dick Gant at 14 Dartmouth Way, permit STR-26-002. Mary Ellen Vesprini at 11 45th Street, permit STR-26-003. Lisa Burke at 37 Annapolis Way, permit STR-26-004. Terry Reese Steineck at 33 Fordham Way, permit STR-26-005. Lisa Cavallaro. Joy, help me out. On behalf of,
Yes,
on behalf of.
Yep.
On behalf of Casella Truchas LLC at 35 Fordham Way, permit STR-26-006. Any discussion on any of those names?
I don't have any discussion, but I do have a couple of questions. The Eleanor Godin, is just a drawn,
so,
but it has no measurements or anything like that, just not required?
no, we just asked for a parking plan designating where the parking will be in relation to the location to ensure that there are parking spots designated.
All right, and then there were a couple that didn't have, Lisa Burke did not have a certificate of insurance or proposed parking plan attached, checked off on her sheet.
They were received, and that's why they were moved forward.
Okay, and then on Terry Reese Steineck, the same, certificate of insurance and proposed parking plan attached.
They were received from them. So the certificates of insurance were a little tough initially because insurance certificates look very different from each person, so it was kind of a learning curve. Plus, the way the statute is written in Massachusetts, if they are renting from, if they are offering the short-term rental through a host agency like Airbnb, things like that, they can be covered by their insurance. So in your packet, I don't know if you have any in this go-round or if you're gonna see them the next time on the 14th, you'll see some applicants have a letter where they say, I only rent through this host agency, and that's why,
Okay,
to
like-
designate that they're covered by their insurance.
Airbnb, Verbo, or
Exactly, yep.
And the other question I had was, in order for somebody to, how long do you have to be a resident in the state of Massachusetts in order to be an owner occupied? Or do you just have to own the property? Because some of them state that they're owner occupied. You know, like if it's a 2-unit,
Yeah,
some, it's checked off as owner occupied.
so as I understand it, that means they're living at the residence and,
My question is, there are a couple of people that show their actual residence not as Newbury. That there's one person from Pennsylvania and one person from Topsfield.
they're still allowed to rent the unit. Or are you saying that they're showing
But
it as?
they're showing on their checkoff that they're owner occupied.
So is it possible that they're owner occupied, they own the property, but their primary residence is outside of the Commonwealth and
That's-
they only, they only summer here? They have a two-family and they summer here, then,
That, yeah, that's
would
my
make
question,
sense.
but I didn't know if it falls under the owner occupied, when they're not there, does that give them permission to rent the facility?
They're allowed to rent, so for instance, someone you'll see lives in California, they own the property, it is their property to rent, so long as they've complied with the requirements under the law.
Yeah,
So same thing if somebody had two residences and maybe they're here just in the summer, but they're still allowed to rent maybe the second unit.
they don't have to be on premise to rent their second unit, do they?
No, we don't require that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And we don't differentiate in terms of the town between owner occupied and not. Sometimes it'll be flagged on their insurance, the insurance codes will be different, but the statute just requires that it has a minimum of $1 million liability insurance. And that's what we're making sure they all meet, either through their own private insurance or through the host agency.
yeah. It was just, the language was a little bit confusing as far as, when it says owner occupied, you assume that that's where they're living, but then stating that they have a different resident, that's where I questioned it.
Perhaps they
Thank you for
occupy
the-
it, perhaps they occupy it in the summertime. They come up from Pennsylvania, occupy it in the summertime and rent the other unit.
Yeah,
It's possible. Good questions, very good questions. Anything else?
That's all I have on that.
Are there any other discussion points? Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed to this? Anyone abstaining? Hearing none, that passes.
We have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. You have any good jokes, Alicia?
I'll read all these names in 3 minutes, the election worker.
Perhaps. Let's go for it.
Wanna try?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's have a motion, please.
I move that we review and approve the 2026 election workers for a term of April 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026, as follows. Would you like me to read them?
Have a second for the motion?
Second.
Yeah, would you, please?
Sure. Karen Barry, 12 Parker River Drive. Maxine Balkas, 4 Oak Terrace. Esther Bernier, 55 Elm Street. Ann Borbeau, 21A Maple Street. Donna Callahan, 4 Torrey Lane. Wanda Crowe, 28 Hay Street. Janine Cunningham, 143 Scotland Road. Lisa Dorval, 46 Low Street. John Elwell, 266 High Street in Newburyport. Barbara Fernald, 46 Lafayette Road in Salisbury. Jane McNeil, 3 43rd Street. Virginia Salem, 219 Beach Road, Unit 1, Salisbury. Jessica McHale, 60 Old Raleigh Road. Wilma McDonald, 229 North End Boulevard, Salisbury. Kathy Muse, 10 Marsh Avenue. Dave O'Neill, 31 Pearson Drive. Molly Shamus, 35 Hanover Street. Richard Keys, 38 Parker Street. Chris Cernak, 30 Rose Lane. Drew Davison, 57 Southern Boulevard. Nancy Burke, 10 Larkin Road. Alexander Burke, 10 Larkin Road. Alyssa Walton, 78 Hanover Street. Leslie Lipkind, 37 Sunset Drive.
Does anyone have any discussion for any of these names? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Hearing none. That they all pass. And I think it's only 1 minute away.
Yeah. I'll wait for 1 minute. Does Leslie have the public hearing
Leslie, you have the public hearing notice?
Sure.
Okay.
to read? Okay, we're not open
We're
yet.
not ready yet.
Okay, I've got it in front of me when we
Okay.
are.
Perfect.
7:15.
7:15.
7:15.
It's Now it's time to open up the public hearing. Could I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Let me see.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed to this? Abstaining, hearing none. Okay, Leslie, would you please read the public hearing legal notice?
Yes, the Town of Newburyport, Select Board, 12 Kent Way, Suite 210, Byfield, Mass. 01922. Legal notice, Town of Newbury, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. 01922, public hearing. In accordance with with Chapter 138, Section 15A of Massachusetts General Laws, notice is hereby given that Newbury Select Board, acting as the licensing authority of the Town of Newbury, will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 24th at 7:15 p.m. on the application of James Sullivan, Rusty Can LLC, 6D Fruit Street, Newbury, Mass. Transfer of liquor license from James Sullivan Wyatt's Market LLC. Please, published on Wednesday, March 11th, 2026.
Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Can we confirm that the tier sheets from the Daily News legal ads have been received?
They happen.
They have. Okay, is the applicant or applicant's representative here tonight to present?
Yes.
Sure, why don't you come up to the podium, please introduce yourself and give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, my name is Dawson Cooper. I'm an attorney at Upton, Cannell and Devlin. I'm here on behalf of Rusty Can LLC. With me tonight is the proposed manager of record for the location, Jim Sullivan. Rusty Can LLC has applied to transfer a Section 15 license from Wyatt's Market LLC. The license will remain at the same location at 6D Fruit Street. This transfer is simply an effort to consolidate the corporate structure holding these licenses. Currently, the Rusty Can license is held by Rusty Can LLC, and the market is held by Wyatt's Market. They'd like them to be held by the same entity in Rusty Can. The two entities share a common ownership. There are no planned operational changes to the market at this moment. Jim, the proposed manager of record, is also a part owner of the Rusty Can LLC, helps run the market and the Rusty Can restaurant. He's vast experience in the food and beverage industry and is familiar with the rules and regulations pertaining to the sale and service of alcohol. With that, we're happy to answer any questions the board may have, and we want to thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Board members, does anyone have any comments, questions on what has just been presented?
Is it
Hearing
gonna remain a, same kind of, convenience type of?
Yes, at this moment, there's no planned operational changes, so it's just to kind of consolidate that corporate structure.
Right.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Has anyone gotten any written correspondence regarding the project from any other interested parties?
None has been received by the town.
Okay. Have to open up the hearing to public comment. Does anyone from the public wish to make any comments about this? Okay, hearing none. Board members, any other further comments or questions about what's being proposed? Hearing none. I'll need a motion and a second to continue the hearing to a date and time certain, but there are any questions. It's not to be continued, sorry. Okay. Did we have a motion? Did we do a motion? I don't
We
think
had a
so.
motion to open.
Okay, we do. Did we second it?
Yes, to open, but not to,
Once
Open the
again,
license.
are there any more questions?
So, Mr. Chairman, I don't see any questions. Can I make a motion that the board, vote to direct staff as appropriate to approve the transfer application as presented this evening?
Second.
Any discussion about that motion that was just made? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Abstaining? Hearing none. And,
I move to close the public hearing.
perfect. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstaining? Hearing none. James Sullivan, You do awesome things for the Council on Aging for celebrating Veterans Day. Veterans Day, the breakfasts and the lunches they have. And, you know, Mike does a terrific job coordinating it, and I'm a veteran, and on behalf of all Newbury veterans, I thank you for what you do.
That's my pleasure.
And you donate, it's a donation from your establishment, and I encourage everyone to frequent the Rusty Can as a token of appreciation.
Thank you.
You're a real
It's-
asset to the community.
It's delicious.
My pleasure again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
So, we're
Okay.
back to the regular hearing.
The Finance Committee want to open?
Erica, yeah,
Yes.
great, thank
We
you.
will open, we'll start at the center of the table with Amy, if each member can just say their name, so we can have roll call to establish quorum.
Sure, Amy Crouch.
Steve Kenny.
Vanessa Rossi. Erica Coles Jacobson.
Frank Visconti.
Joseph Ali.
Richard Keys.
Excellent. We have 7 out of 7 members here tonight, so we are good to open.
Thanks. Okay, public comment in general. Is anyone here for public comment?
That the same as citizen request?
It is, it is. Okay, Evelyn, let me read the statement, and you can come up, please. To receive oral communications from members of the public, members of the public may address the select board for up to 3 minutes. The select board shall not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes unless extended at the discretion of the chairperson. Evelyn, come on up. I think you know what to do. Introduce yourself.
Illinois, Bytown Road, Byfield, because that's what it's about, Byfield. We're wondering if the selectmen will take into consideration adding to your new sign at the central fields, that if you would make note of Byfield, since the property is in Byfield. And I have some signatures here from folks that are asking that you consider that. We were even thinking underneath the sign, if there's no street address, so maybe you could put, I don't know, what is it, 115, whatever, Central Street, Byfield.
We're not really supposed to have discussion, but I know this really came about by the Recreation Committee. The renaming of the field and altering the sign, I think is something that they did.
I think
So we can take it under advisement.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's not, we're not asking for, a change to this present sign, just to add Byfield.
Understood.
Keep us
Understood.
on the map.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Evelyn, thanks very much.
Okay.
Keep us on the map. Okay,
Any other?
public comments? We'll move on to new business, and
Thanks, Evelyn.
thank you very much, Evelyn.
Good night.
Marshall, do you wanna come up and join us up here so you can, here or at the podium, whichever you prefer to do?
No, I can stay right here, we'll do fine
Is he on camera?
capital planning committee.
So this is Marshall Jesperson, he's the chairperson on the capital planning committee.
Thank you, Marshall, for coming
Okay.
tonight.
Happy to be here. Now, do you wanna go through the normal things you do with finance committee and do capital planning afterward, or?
It's up to you, how do you think it would fit in better, if you did it first or after we went through the
After we go
warrant?
through.
After we go through the warrant?
Okay.
Okay, all right,
Can we ask questions of him as we go through the meeting?
sure,
Excellent.
sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's to review the annual town meeting warrant with the finance committee, so let's have a motion to do that, please.
I move that we review, the annual town meeting warrant here with the Finance Committee with input from the Capital Planning Committee.
Second.
All those in favor from both committees, I guess.
Aye.
Okay. We all have draft copies that were given us to us tonight. So, this is a standard format. What's the best way to approach this?
I'm gonna ask the town administrator to go through it.
Tracy, would you do that for us?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight on the agenda, obviously, is the annual operating budget and our warrant. It's a proposal that does present a balanced budget. I know with the finance committee and with the select board alike, we've had conversations and about how challenging this year was. I think if we had to pick a theme probably for this year, it's all about balance, right? Trying to understand, just like we found balance between how we fund education and municipal services, we had to look at this budget proposal very carefully to be mindful of finding balance between what the residents want for services, and how do we provide those within the confines of the revenues that we have, the property tax revenues, the available funds, the state aid. So we were able to do that, but we weren't able to do it without deviating slightly from our financial goals and objectives this year. So normally, we don't ever fund our operating budget with one-time revenues, but this year, we're, making an exception in order to avoid back-to-back override proposals, and where we were able to bring the delta between the two to a much smaller amount. We're only considering about $250,000. We'll use this proposal, uses free cash to bridge that little gap that we have. Revenues, on the revenue side, we've seen declining new growth. Preliminary numbers indicate only about $70,000 from the assessors. Total new revenues, everything we expect to receive this year is only about $950,000. And that is assuming a level services budget. Initially, the proposals that we had received were looking at about $1.9 million increase. Obviously, you don't have to be an accountant to realize that that doesn't add up. On the expenditure side of the balance sheet, it didn't look much better. We're struggling with rising healthcare costs, increasing material and supply costs, increasing lease costs, significant requests for additional personnel, which were denied. We had hoped to provide the non-represented employees an annual wage increase of 2.5% this year. We're only gonna be able to provide 2%. We're under a lot of pressure to provide more competitive wages, in particular in public safety, but in all aspects of our governmental operations. I think the bottom line is that cost increases are outpacing our revenues. We know it, we saw it coming, our financial forecasts indicated that actually we saw it almost 2 years ago. So it doesn't make it any easier when you're in the thick of it. The bigger cost drivers this year were, again, things we knew about, but now they're coming home to roost. We've got to pick up the cost of the 2 additional firefighters that have been funded under the SAFER grant. That was about $115,000 hit. We've had a lot of increases in our annual software licensing, significant increases this year, which we haven't seen them this high in the past. We're picking up the previously ARPA-funded lease for the Council on Aging. Only half of it though this year, and then the other half next year. Public safety increases are pretty significant this year. Educational funding, as you know, is up significantly. Insurance premiums are up about 6.3%, which we're pretty fortunate because the initial projections were double digits. So we're pretty pleased with that number, believe it or not. So this budget is balanced. It does propose the use of one-time revenues to bridge the budgetary gap. As you recall, last year, residents at the annual town meeting did vote to reclassify the PEG access funds. We had talked about that a lot over the last few years. So now that it's a general fund, the $1.19 million that was sitting in that account closed out at the end of the fiscal year, became a component of free cash. That's why our free cash was certified a little bit higher than normal. And the plan, again, is to use some of those funds, $250,000, to support the operating budget. Even though it's in conflict with our financial management, I know I keep saying it, but I want it to be clear that everybody knows we're acknowledging that. And understands that we are indeed kicking this down, kicking this can down the road, because we're hoping that our revenue picture will improve next year. And I know, Chairman DeMayo, you're gonna tell me that hope isn't a plan, as you always do, but we do have some subdivision growth on the horizon that may help, but that, of course, assumes that everything stays the same with all of our expenditure side of the balance sheet, which we know isn't gonna happen. So just that everyone's aware that this is what the proposal includes. And I guess, I know I've directed you all to the Perfect Storm report by MMA, and they are going to be advocating on behalf of all the cities and towns for some relief, primarily the increase in discretionary state aid funding for the communities, and additional options for communities like meals taxes, lodging taxes, those types of things, additional taxes that we'll have an opportunity to enact, as well as property taxation flexibility, which whether or not they'll get those through, I don't know, but they're trying, everyone's aware of it. If there's any comfort in understanding that it's not just us, you read about some of our local communities, they're all struggling with the same situation. So this proposal's balanced, it will get us through next fiscal year, but I don't think it's gonna be easy for the next, 3 years, I would predict, 3 or 4 years. So, more than that, yeah. I'm more of an optimist than you, Frank,
Yes,
but
you are.
yeah, that's what I would say. So if you wanna start just with the very beginning of the warrant, we can go through each of the individual items. Thanks. So starting with, Article 4, which is the appropriations, you can see the total.
Actually, Tracy, can I just ask looking at Article 3 and looking at last year's town meeting, it looks like everything there is the same salaries with the exception of town clerk. Correct. Is that correct?
That
Okay.
is correct.
All right. I just wanted to call that, just so that we acknowledge that that's the one that went up.
Yes, town clerk's presented a proposal for a wage increase, has been presented multiple times.
Okay.
And based on the analysis, that was more than warranted, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
And none of the other things on Article 1, other than date and
no,
Article 1, did we change any of the, we didn't change any of the terms?
no,
No, those are all the
No.
same. Okay,
those are all the same.
all right.
Yep. Article 4 represents the total operating budget. You can see it there. We're looking at all of the cost centers. There's not significant increases there. I'm taking up all your space here. In terms of increases by function, what we see in general government is about a 5% increase, a little over a 5% increase. Public safety, as I mentioned, is about 8%. Education this year is 5.3%. DPW 2.9%. Human services are going down, a little over 1%. Culture and recreation is up 8%. Debt service is down 24.3%. I will tell you, people see that and think, oh, great, we're gaining levy capacity, we're not. We don't have any debt in our operating budget structure. All of our debt service is exclusions. So any debt going forward would need to be exclusions, because we have no room within our operating budget to fund it currently. We have no levy capacity. Employee benefits are up about 5.5%. So overall, the total budget proposal is up 4.6%. And we'll, in the booklet, like we've done the last few years, we'll include the breakdown of every individual line item so people can see exactly what functions are increasing or decreasing.
And Tracy, just as a clarification point, because the warrant does not have, the warrant is just the articles that we warn of. The motion on the floor will include to raise and appropriate, as well as the use of $250 from free cash.
It will.
It will,
So when the motion is made, it will explain the funds that will come from raise and appropriate, the $250 from free cash, and then we also have about $270,000 that comes to pay, that we take out of our, we take out of our, I can't remember the name of the fund, special assessment fund.
Okay.
The sewer betterment, sewer and
Yes.
water betterment special assessment fund to pay for the debt service for the Plum Island project.
And I also just kind of looked up, and these are my notes, so they may not be the official vote totals, but I have that, talking about that PEG vote that we took last year, which was Article 18 at last year's town meeting. By my count, that passed 71% of the vote. It was 219 in favor, 89 opposed. So that was the moving of the balance from the special revenue fund into free cash.
Correct.
Okay.
It was closing out. And there was
Closing out,
some
yes.
conversation about what that was committed to and we were promised, and just so everyone's clear, I just thought it might be helpful to read the language that was in the booklet. It says there is a balance of $1,153,009.10 in the special revenue fund. If revoked, these funds would be closed out to the town's general fund to later be certified as free cash. These funds could be committed in the future to defer the increasing costs of education funding or other town operations. So that, that was what the.
Thank you. And can you remind us what our free cash certification was that we received in October?
$3,285,964.
You don't know it off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So 1.1 of that 3
Correct.
is from PEG.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to kind of follow the money.
Yep.
Thank you.
So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, the operating budget. Article 5 is our annual appropriation into the stabilization fund. It's been as high as, $250,000 a year, and this is kind of the low where we've been the last couple of years. Currently, we have a little over $172,000. If this should be approved, we'll have $222,000.
Last year, we had initially put in the initial article last year was 200,000, but the motion made on the floor was for 50,000. So this is level with what we did last year, but we would end up with over 200,000. Okay,
And there are no expenditures being proposed.
taken out of.
From the
okay.
stabilization fund
Nothing
this
coming
year.
out of stabilization at this annual town meeting. Okay, thank you.
Article 6 is again an annual appropriation. These probably look very familiar to you all by now, into the OPEB trust fund. So we're seeking $200,000 to be deposited in. We have an OPEB liability over $6.7 million. Right now, we have a little over $1.9 million in the trust. And if this should be approved, we'll have a little over 2 million in the trust.
Exactly how does that work? I'm not really familiar with it.
We have other post-employment benefits that we're required
So
to
the-
pay on behalf of employees. And it's what's called an unfunded liability. So what we're trying to do, we're always seeking, bond rating status, right? We're always trying to make sure our finances are in such order that we remain a AAA bond rated community in the event that we, have things like facilities to address and wanna go out and issue debt, you wanna maintain those, that high level. And one of the things that communities are asked to do is to fund this liability, this unfunded liability. It's always mentioned, I don't know if anyone like me reads our annual audit reports. It talks about this,
I'm gonna say, that young lady right there.
she probably does, but it talks about the unfunded liability and what communities should do. So we're quite a ways away from being fully funded, but I have the idea of having this article appear every year because it reminds everybody that it's still out there. So that's the commitment that we've made pretty much every year. When we started though, we were funding it within the confines of 2.5, so we were funding it within our tax rate. Now we're taking funds from free cash to fund it.
How does our 28% 28% funded standing compare to other municipalities within that same?
I don't think
System.
we're out of the range. There are a few in the Commonwealth that have fully funded, but not many. And there are others that haven't even, that don't address it at all.
Ours is not Commonwealth wide, right? Isn't ours only?
Ours is only
County
town
based.
of Newbury. Ours
It's
is town of
Newbury.
Newbury.
It's not part of a larger,
Nope.
really?
No, it's town of Newbury. We do have an additional unfunded liability as a member community of Triton as well.
Okay, and that's completely on there.
I can't answer that, but I don't believe I've ever seen it in their budget.
I've never seen it in their budget.
I've never seen that in the budget.
I'm not 100% sure, but
No.
I can find out.
And Tracy, just to clarify on Articles 5 and 6, are those both intended to come from free cash as well?
The 50,000 from the stabilization fund is raise and appropriate.
Okay. And then the 200 for OPEB is free cash. Alright, thank you.
And we're also required every 2 years to conduct an actuarial analysis.
Yep.
And the next article will fund that.
Yep. And that would, I'm assuming, free cash.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Article 8 are our revolving funds. Those look familiar, I'm sure. We have two. We have the Recreation Revolving Fund and the Municipal Waterways Improvements and Maintenance Fund, also known as the Harbor Master Fund. The fees that they take in fund their operations for the year.
And the recreation fund is a level with last year and.
Recreation Fund is level, Municipal Waterways is up.
Okay.
I have a question on that. That recreation revolving fund has been at that same amount for years.
Since I was on.
Yeah. Are they able to live within, I guess they're able to live within that, because they're not asking for any additional.
So the only additional funding that they asked for this year, and it is in the form of a line item, is a very small payroll and expense account. So, in the backup detail of the budget, which will be in the back of the warrant, they asked for a total of $15,000.
And they can fund it within this 50,000, or is that gonna come?
Cannot, so the funds that come in for the rental of the fees,
Yeah.
the field fees.
Right.
Can only be expended for expenses that relate to the fields.
Okay, so that small position is gonna come out of the operating budget.
Correct.
Thank you.
So they're getting into, so that's out of the operating budget.
Yeah, and they've had problems where, with the basketball, they, needed to replace nets or whatever they need to do, and they can't do it out of the revolving fund account. So this gives them a little bit of expense money that they can
Okay.
make repairs as necessary.
Great, thank you.
Article 9 is the ambulance enterprise fund. That's up slightly from last year by only about $4,000.
And is that also because of insurance and medical?
Expense driven. Most of the increases that you see in any of the expense budget are supplies, services, utilities, gas.
Okay.
Article 10 represents funding that will be coming from the ambulance enterprise free cash. And there are 3 payments, so I think we're year 3 on the lease for the ambulance. That's a 7-year lease. The cardiac monitor defibrillator was on last year, but they had hoped to get a grant, but they were unsuccessful. The one they have is a 2010 outdated model, and I understand that OEMS, who is the agency that oversees the ambulance, is recommending that they address this. The Lucas chest compression device, we have 2. We're looking for a 3rd one to go into so we would have one for each ambulance. It's a mechanical device that does the compressions, the CPR compressions.
And do you know how much is in the ambulance enterprise free cash fund?
I do somewhere. $270,188. So if all of those were to be approved, we'd end up with about $122,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Article 11 represents most of our capital requests, and those in particular that are funded with free cash. PEG equipment purchase, which is going to allow us to move all the equipment from High Road over here. We've had a request for emergency management response vehicle for $69,000. The current vehicle is I believe it's a 2007. Yeah, it's 2007. And this past year, we spent over $7,000 in repairs. It's got a lot of rust. It's time for that to be replaced. We've had a proposal for replacing the pilings in our town docks for $22,000. Those are over 20 years old as well, I believe. 18. We have had a request from the fire department for 2 sets of hydraulic extrication tools, total of $134,000.
Is that a different term, like from the jaws of life?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's exactly right. One is 15 years old, the other is 20 years old. The fire department has requested $100,000 for a records management software system. Currently, we use IMC, which is a system that the police department uses, but we've been notified that IMC may no longer be supporting fire. So we're gonna have to look into, well, we're already looking into new records management software, but this looks like the best approach. We have a request for $250,000 for the senior center, the next phase, the feasibility study and conceptual design. I wanted to mention though that fee, conversations with the architect would include if you wanted to consider a senior center and a town hall on that location. So that number could be reduced if the board wants to only consider senior center, then it would likely be less. So that is the high end of considering all of it. And the Council on Aging has also requested a transport vehicle to help people, to provide transportation for medical appointments. And I think I skipped the big one, which was the Morgan Ave Fire Station repairs. We had DMS Design come out and do a report on all of the issues. And last year we funded about 100,000, and this is the balance of what needs to be done. The report identified issues with roof, gutters, trim, siding, doors, windows, lighting, flooring, kitchen, and the most substantial were plumbing and electrical. So that number would address all of those things.
Pause here for a second.
Wasn't there a question about $600,000 repair and a request also for possibility of a new fire station?
So, yeah, I mean, is this a good segue? Chairman Jesperson?
Okay,
To jump into it?
thank you, Leslie. Looking at the capital requests for the buildings that we have, the Morgan Avenue Fire Station has been in sad shape for a number of years. And it's been patching along, but they have looked for and have requested a new fire station in the future. So it's a future request. We have the same thing for the Council on Aging. We have the same thing for the Town Hall, rented spaces. And so from the capital planning part of this, it makes sense to look for solutions to these problems on a long-term basis and with a lot of flexibility so that the town can get the best bang for the buck. We've gone through this several times, as you all will remember, and people have looked at combined facilities that were turned down. It turned out to be more expensive in the long run to go separate facilities. It's a recommendation of the Capital Planning Committee to the Select Board that it's time once again to put on the agenda looking at those capital building needs in a flexible way so that we can get the best bang for the buck. It's no surprise that if we can combine things, we can save some money. And having facilities that are exclusively for one agency or another without sharing some of the common aspects that utilities would have, certain rooms would have, just costs more money. And so looking at that would be a long-term solution. Also, one of the studies that we did years ago looked at how long we can expect these capital projects to go. And so capital planning did a study years ago on the life expectancy of some of these buildings. And for buildings that were still in use but relatively old, we found that we could expect a lot of buildings that have lasted from between 80 and 100 years in service in the municipal service. And so that inventory is not an inventory that just lasts 30 years, which would be the mortgage perhaps, but in fact, after the mortgage is done, you will have a building that is going to last a lot longer. That was a sticking point that came up the last time we looked at a capital building plan. And it was quite confusing I think, to the people in the town who then voted it down as being too costly when they did not see the sort of the tail end of that project being a lot less expensive than renting. So our recommendation is that the select board take that up as something that we look forward to working on and coming up with some viable plans that will serve the town for a long, long time and still be cost effective. Thanks again, Leslie.
Thank you. You're very welcome. There are so many things that are so needed in the town. And right now, it's just unfortunate that the economic future here, not here in Newbury, but nationwide, is kind of tricky. So it's gonna be, these are gonna be the things that people are going to want to ask questions about.
Well, you bring up a wonderful point, because we had looked at this before, back when we were actually going through a period of paying off our long-term debt and would have the ability, without raising taxes, to go for some funding options that would have been kind of level. That period is now gone. But the need is still there. And as we had done in the past with those options, is we may have to do that. And looking at our alternatives, we're trying to find something, and it would be trying to find something that in the long run is going to be cost effective for the town. And that's, and I recognize that the town is going to be sensitive to that. It is one of the realities of, we don't want to spend on this or that or something else, but in fact, that's the nature of going forward with the town. You have to have those things.
Operational question, Tracy, and then I'll tell you why. So have we traditionally always lumped all these items into one warrant article?
The last few years.
We've never extricated any of the larger ones. I mean, the
No,
reason.
we've started doing, they call it a consent warrant. That was a recommendation of town council that we started doing.
So you're looking for
I
like
can't-
a line item.
Well, yeah, but I can't prove it, but to me, it puts things that absolutely positively need to be done, period, at a disadvantage. Because it lumps them with things that, if you're paying attention, are debatable. So, and this ties back, so.
Sure.
Marshall used the word confusing. I think it's more confusing now than it ever has been. I think Marshall and all the people involved put a pretty straightforward plan together for large items in the past. Those did not pass. Now, if you're paying attention and you're thinking about the fiscal future of your town, you're saying, all right, $611,000 for the fire department. It's a mess. It needs to be fixed. I get it. But we've been kicking around this idea of a fire department for ages now. So can that 600 number get by on a lesser number to get it, because we're actually starting a plan to build a firehouse? Or $250K for a study for the Council on Aging plus $40,000 for a new vehicle. Okay, I realize municipal studies are expensive. I understand that. They're expensive. It is what it is. But if we're gonna bandy about with these ideas of joint facilities and whatever else, is this money well spent in the interim? So with our voter turnout in this town, which is not great, and granted, maybe a lot of people are just not paying attention, but if you are paying attention.
Last year,
What's that?
about 350 last year.
Yeah, but if you are paying attention, we should be talking in real terms about the big items. And, cause this nickel and diming, if we do wanna do those things, is going to come back and bite us. And and these are not nickel and dime numbers, you know? But yet, by lumping all these together, well, you know, the town dock pylons need to be replaced, they're 22 years old, they're falling apart. Yeah, it's 22 grand, we're lumping everything together, when some of these other items, I think are worthy of more significant discussion and somebody to lay out a larger plan.
May
Rather
I,
than catch as
could I
catch can.
speak to that for just a
Yeah.
second, Frank? Because when we discussed this with some of the people who came forward with requests,
Yeah.
and we talked just about those things, some of those requests were actually removed from the table pending a discussion from the select board as to say, well, you know, if we won't be looking at a new fire station, then we don't wanna fix the wiring in the old fire station. We wanna, you know, let that, we can live with this for a couple more years, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
So we are sensitive to taking some of the things off of the table that, you know, if you put them on
And I don't know if it needs to be, I appreciate that and I understand it. I just don't know that these things need to be left off either. I think they need to be discussed as part of a little bit more concrete, larger plan, right? Because the numbers are large, they're big, like, it's, for a company, or for a company, yeah, for a town that is quote unquote flying in the face of our own fiscal prudence that we used in the past to fund our schools and what have you. 250K is a good number, it's a big number, you know, it's half the number that we're appropriating basically out of PEG funds in the past, and we're saying, all right, well, PEG was for the kids, and okay, I'm there, I'm with you, I'm with you 100%. That's a big number.
What's a big number?
For a study, for a bunch of guys to give you a scary number as to what your COA is gonna cost you.
And
The
if you throw the
problem-
40,000 into it, it's almost 300.
Took 300 grand.
The only problem I see is we've been discussing the fire station, the town hall, and even the senior center, not quite as long. But for the 15 years I've been here and the 10 years before I got
Yeah.
here, and we've made no progress
No,
on
it's
any
killing
of
us,
them.
fiscally it's
We have a
killing
police
us.
station.
We have
You're
a
right.
police station that
We have a
costs
police
more
station.
than we appropriated.
But-
It came in under budget after we appropriated
But-
correctly.
Right.
And we bypassed multiple times of combined use buildings that would have been paid, more than halfway paid off by now. Because we can't come up with a plan that is cost effective and makes sense to the voters. And it is killing me to see $350,000 in the operating budget for 2027 to rent the building we are sitting in right now, to rent this space.
Yeah.
That is money, we wouldn't have to pull money out of free cash if we were in a building. Yes, we'd still have utilities, yes, but we are taking money out of our budget every year to put into rent. And how long have we been here now? We're now at 10 years?
10 years.
10 years. 10 years that we have put this off. And I think we absolutely should have a longer term plan so that we get out of this, but it does have to, we have to have people who care. When we have 300 people showing up, we missed the vote for, it passed by a majority
But not
for the multi-use, but not 2/3. And that is a shame. We gave up.
You did bring up a good point. It's the job here to get any of this done is our job to help people understand. When you talk about money to anybody, to just about anybody, it's a really sensitive area. So the job, and it's a hard job. And, you know, the formula has to be just right in order for it to go forward. And I guess it just hasn't been just right just yet.
And that's, I understand that point. Nothing gets cheaper,
I know.
No,
right?
none of this,
Nothing gets cheaper.
None of it does.
Ever.
Just past
And
the
the
gas
longer that
station.
we, and this is to say, like, I certainly don't wanna be painted as, I don't want firefighters to go without. I don't want them to have to work in a crappy building. That's the furthest thing. However, we can just continue to kick cans down the road, but if we don't talk seriously about, hey, these are our constraints on COA, these are our constraints on whatever, this is what we need to try and build a facility, bare bones facility, we can make it better, but one that up to code, this is what it costs today, and this is how we would do it. Because the nickel and dime costs get bigger and bigger and bigger all the time.
so
Agreed.
I have a question to Frank's point. The $611,000 that's requested to upgrade the repairs to the Morgan Ave, where will that bring us? Is that just a patch, or is that going to permanently fix that so we don't need to discuss?
It will not permanently fix that building.
So that's not a 20-year fix or a 10-year fix or a.
That's new bathrooms, basically.
It's a one-year fix?
Oh, it's more than 1 year,
10.
for sure. But,
10 is the
I mean,
estimate.
it's patching up something that, when you look, again, you look at the most cost-effective way, we have to look at time periods that people have refused to look at. And this was one of the big things that came out at our last town meeting when we tried to do this, which was people said, well, here's what 30 years of rent would be and 30 years of mortgage. 30 years of rent, the next year you rent again. 30 years of mortgage, the next year you're done. And we showed that, in fact, the most cost-effective thing to do was to build a new building. Now, because we have 3 facilities that are looking at new buildings, 2 are rentals, okay, we don't have a building to replace, 1 has a building to replace. It's time to get serious with this long-term stuff. It is going to be cheaper for the town long-term, better for the town long-term, and quite frankly, we did a really poor job of selling that fact. And the people who did a really good job of selling misinformation took the day.
That's right.
And
There you go.
I think, to be fair, I think the can kicking numbers used to be a lot lower,
Oh, yeah.
right? And all of a sudden now the cans got a lot bigger.
Yep.
And those numbers start to show up on the balance sheet of a town with 26 million revenue, whatever we are, right? I mean, when duct tape and bubble gum repairs start to run you 600 grand, ooh, what happened?
Yeah,
You know,
Beyond that.
and I personally think that, and I could be overestimating, but people are gonna start paying attention, I think, cause it is going, it
So
is
they
gonna
should
affect
pay
them.
attention.
And they're gonna come in and say, no, that's too much, and that's where I think, I don't know, that was my initial question was, should things be extricated, put in their own line item, what have you, because.
So Frank, are you asking that, and I think what I'm hearing you say that this article number, you'd like to see that broken up into separate articles? So Article 11 should be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 additional articles?
I don't wanna take, a moral stance for anyone else, I count for 1 vote. But I guess I'm just envisioning a scenario in which like, yeah, I want 600 grand for the fire department, I don't know if I want 250K for a study.
So then
And it's
could
like,
we
well,
put-
since I gotta pay 250K, since a yes vote is 250K for a study, no.
Then you're
No,
gonna get another.
Cause you're always gonna clutch your wallet in a time of indecision.
So, yeah, so could you put holds on these items and then discuss it and then make amendments on the floor? Is that too complex?
No, you can do that. This is our capital plan for this year. So that, like, you're talking about how do we propose this, that's one of the things that we've been talking about is we have all of these facilities that we need to address. What a lot of communities have done successfully, but at significant expense, is put together the grand proposal, and I know no one wants to face it, because then you're not talking about $40 a year like we were back in 2015, you're talking $1,000 a year. But they put together a single capital plan, and they address all of the issues, and they vote it as Triton building, middle high school campus, and a town hall, and a senior center, and they put that big number, and they're even hiring PR firms to help them get it through, because the reality is, Marshall, you mentioned we didn't do a great job at promoting it, but we're not PR people, most of us, certainly any of us in town hall wouldn't be promoting it anyway, but it's not something that we have great experience with.
I think that a combined capital, at least a capital vision to sell before that gargantuan number from Triton comes rolling along, to try and get some of these things underway, because I think that my concern is, and it's been for a few years, that we're gonna keep kicking the can, and then all of a sudden, it's like, well, we are at
It's
the end of the
too big to
road
kick
on
after a while.
everything. The
We're
can
there.
has become
We're there.
a monolith,
Yeah.
and nobody's kicking it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I mean, that's, I don't wanna speak for anybody else, I think that, I think that it might be advantageous to break some things up by choice, to let voters say, yes, I'm on board for public safety, or I'm not on board for this, or I'm, whatever the case may be.
So, in other words, to just kind of break it down into a little small thing. If you were to put them into different categories, different articles, that you would probably have more success on the projects that people would
You might just be a
probably-
public safety person, in which
Or-
case
or
you're
you
like,
could
all right,
lose
well, we need
this-
excavation tools, we need,
Yeah, or you could lose
know.
this whole thing, period, end of story.
it feels to me that the more items you lump in there, the more likely you are to get a no, because if people are, again, if people are even uncertain, the answer is no. If you come to me with a grand plan, I need money right now for, such and such, if I don't get it, even though it might be a great idea, if I don't get it, the answer is no. Until you can finally explain it to me in a way that I can understand, and why you need this capital, then I might come around.
Can
But
I ask a
I think again, I come back to that word that Marcia used, confusing. I think some of this stuff is confusing. I could see someone, like I say, wait a minute, aren't we like building a new fire station? Isn't we talking about building a new fire station? Or COA,
not.
I know,
There's been no conversation about building a new fire station, so.
that's
Can I
a
ask
long-term
Can I ask a
request.
quick question?
Yes.
So this 250, if I'm to understand it correctly, the 250 accounts for the senior center and the town hall, potentially the fire station as well? No, so this is not in the conceptual design, no.
So the seniors, the Council on Aging ad hoc committee did a presentation. Mr. Chairman, I don't remember what the date was. Do you remember?
It was on a Saturday.
A Saturday, a few Saturdays ago. They had done an analysis of site selection and space needs, so that, and presented that publicly. The next phase would be the conceptual design and the feasibility study. They narrowed it down, not completely to this Kent Way parcel, but that seemed to be the parcel that rose to the top in their discussions. It's large enough that it could support a senior center, but it could also support an additional building. We had always thought that there was a preference that High Road be the civic center complex, if you will, for lack of a better term. But it doesn't seem that that people, now that the municipal operation has been here for so long, it doesn't seem like people are committed to only that location.
Yeah.
So would this be an alternative? Could this be the new civic center complex where you have the library, the senior center, and the town offices there? So that was kind of what the conversation, how the conversation moved forward. But, you know, there hasn't been any discussion in terms of select board or capital planning as identifying, yes, we need to move forward with this particular site. Our opportunity, as Frank mentioned, was 2015. We were going to address the public safety building with a combined police fire station and the town hall, because we knew Triton was coming. We knew we had pretty significant expenses at the elementary school, which we haven't talked about that, but there's over $1 million in repairs needed at the elementary school as well. So yes, we did kick the can down the road because we couldn't get it passed, but here we are.
But it sounds to me, just really, sorry, Marshall, really quickly. It sounds to me though, like this $250K line item doesn't fit the bill for what we need. So my thought is either we make it fit the bill for everything and we rename it, right? Is this phase 1 of our town center? Like we rename it something that's applicable to that? Or maybe we need to reimagine what this is potentially? Because I feel like $250K is a lot for something that's not gonna tick all of our boxes, but I feel very strongly that it would be helpful for us to dive into this. So I don't know if there's enough time to potentially update that, change that, or make that something else, but to Frank's point, and everyone's point here, we've kicked the can a lot, and I just wanna make sure that we, are thinking through something like that.
I think you're absolutely right, but I'll take it further in that it strikes me as premature. It sounds like we're throwing $250K at another thing that we may well not do. And that's, and in the meantime, look, I know this makes me sound like a curmudgeon, I understand that, but it's a tough sell when I pass an empty building on High Road every damn day, right?
Yeah.
And I yield to Bob Connors on it, he knows what he's talking about, and he says the rehab of this building cost too much.
Take
I
the
don't know.
tour. So,
It's got a roof that doesn't leak.
here's kind of, all of this stuff is important, but the big piece that's missing from this discussion is the cost that the continuously rising costs of public education is not gonna go away. We're gonna see 10% increases year over year for Triton coming down the road. It's not gonna change. We can't override our way out of those increases. So something is going to get cut. It's either gonna be public education or it's gonna be the town side of things. Because we continuously rent and the rent goes up for this space here, our town office is here, the council on aging downstairs is gonna come off. You're gonna have $500,000, roughly, over the next 3 years, every year, $500,000 in rent. That if we had a project that would be a debt exclusion, that $500,000 would shift off of the operating side of the budget to the debt exclusion side of the budget, which we have plenty of room for because we have very low debt right now. We have room to go up on that. And then that other $500,000 will help offset. Will it completely offset the rising cost of public education? No. But it will help it significantly. And we're still gonna probably have to override our way out of a little bit of this.
So what's like the next step, I guess? Like,
Yeah,
it is the
I'm
next
gonna
step.
say, I am right now sitting here, normally I am, we see our capital plan, I know that Marshall, I know everyone who sits on capital planning has looked at all of these things. This $250 for the senior center is the one that makes me just wanna say no to this. And I usually would vote yes on everything, to support this town and move us forward. But I feel like we're throwing money at something that is, it's
Not probable.
It's necessary, but it is in the scheme of the fire station falling down. There's a decrepit building around the corner from my house that has been unoccupied for 10 years. Like,
Okay.
why can we
And-
do
and-
this
and
to put this
$200
$250,000 to something that's for more
Right.
of the town?
Exactly.
Not just for the senior center. That looks like we're we're thinking of building something for a small portion of our population. We're 6,000 people in this town. And we're sending the message that we're gonna drop money into the seniors while we're paying rent and not funding education. This
And-
one just bugs me this year.
And it doesn't even get you a shovel stuck in the ground.
Right, this is just,
And the other, and if it comes in, you know, again, I sound like a curmudgeon, and I understand that.
No, you don't.
But, you know, if a highfalutin architectural firm comes up with another, I'm using the vernacular of the time around the town hall, comes up with another Taj Mahal looking project for the COA, it's gonna go right to vote and it's gonna get
Yeah.
downed again.
Yeah,
And then,
I mean-
and boom, you blew 250 and whatever else
Yeah,
in the
like,
process.
how much does somebody think a
Yeah.
senior center right now, just to, like, we're not talking this is gonna be $1 million project. We're in multi-million dollars to build something.
4 was the number bandied around, right?
Yeah.
A Morton
Just-
building would be fine.
Just a thought from capital planning.
Yeah.
Capital
You can fix
planning
it nice.
mandate, as it's been written for the town, is to look at 5-year plans. I'm going to suggest that the select board change that mandate to look at a longer horizon and a larger project for capital planning to ring in the 15 buildings of the town so that we can come back with a much longer term look that includes, you know, things like the fires, the fire trucks and the ambulances and the town docks and the boats and all that other stuff. But what we have not had on there, and I think it makes sense to add to the capital planning mandate, looking at the buildings and some longer term planning and bringing in some other resources to get some of that done.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Not gonna be done this year, for
No.
sure.
No, and
But
but
I
my
think
concern
in-
is, and
in-
it's, you know,
In going
again, it's just a
toward the
concern
future,
that cannot be alleviated, I don't think,
that
which is,
would be.
well, you,
what
just
you're
as you get
saying
this
is
all
appropriate.
together, and you got a Triton building about to smash you in the face.
Yeah,
in the
but I mean,
process.
it's an appropriate
Yeah,
task for capital planning to expand
But
to do that, I think.
To Erica and Frank, I think they're both correct on the fact that, you know, your feelings are a little bit uneasy about the 250,000. And not that you wanna take away from the seniors, but if most people, and I've listened to a lot of stuff, sometimes, you know, to my dismay, but it would eliminate the other things that are far more important. Because if they look at, if that's the determining factor of the vote, to say, I'm not gonna vote for that because, I'm not gonna vote for that whole package
Yes.
because, then you've eliminated all the other stuff as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And so Morgan Ave really takes a huge hit. The pilings they all go, all of it goes away.
I just think, yeah, I think some of those things are very black and white. You need new jaws of life, you need new jaws of life, it is what it is, right? You gotta pony up for them. It's, they cost what they cost, there's no sense in debating it.
Just
If you're
even,
in a wrecked car, you wanna get out, period, you're right, that's it. And I just don't think that it holds the same, it should be classified in the same fashion as a feasibility study for something that, you know, if I were a gambler, I would empty my wallet, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. I don't see it, so I just think, I think we have dissimilar items, very dissimilar items lumped into one category.
and one of the things that, just looking at the council on aging in the draft budget, the total amount for salary and wages and expenses for that, not including rent, is less than $250,000. So we're gonna spend $250,000 that's not going to any service. It's the promise, it's not even the promise, it's just to see if we can build something to provide services that we only provide for at about $225,000 a year. It seems just to be an out.
Conceptual in the title.
Yep.
It's just gonna, it's
Yeah.
conceptual in the title, it's gonna be
Yeah.
hard to swallow for
Yeah, I think you're right.
the.
I just
I
don't, I
think-
feel like we're in a fiscal situation that we don't have money for,
I think, I mean, I
Concepts.
sat and I listened on that Saturday, and I think in defense of the group that spent a lot of time and effort in this project, I think that they do see all of these things that we're talking about coming down the road. I think they see the rent coming down, and they're trying to find a solution, and they're trying just to keep it in the forefront of the town's mind, because it appears as if the town hall need is taking a back seat.
I'm sure that you're right. But I'm not saying that anyone's acting in any nefarious fashion, I'm
No, I
not saying
know.
that at all.
No.
But if it was me, and I needed $250 for a
I hear
study,
you.
I'm gonna slip it right in with the fire department and the jaws of life.
I hear you.
Because who the hell votes against the jaws of life? Right, I'm gonna package it right in there as a line item and boom, I'll get my money.
Any of those
I don't
can
see
be, first of all, the select board will have to vote on all of these articles, whether they leave them in or take them out, so that's the first step. And then any of them can be removed or voted down at town meeting. So it's not like you have to vote for all or none. You can vote for any of them individually, just like you can for all the line items in our operating budget.
So when we build a new town hall, right, that's a when we, the first step is gonna be a feasibility study, conceptual design.
Right.
So to your point about kicking the can down the road, at some point, we're gonna have to take the vote to say, let's spend $250.
But we also do have, close to 5 million that would be, the select board at that time could ask whether or not that would be dutifully spent from that project. I think we need to remember that that money was set aside by the voters to address the long-term capital needs of
The town
of the
offices.
town offices. So that's where I think we need to get creative on what we're doing, because free cash is a one-time thing. And understanding that would be our investment in the plan.
Right. And to speak to that property at 25 High Road, because it sits in the historic district, they can't the town can't make any renovations to that, it can't demolish it, it can't do anything to that until the historical commission weighs in on that. Because if that building is truly historic, it needs to be protected. So that's the first step, to do anything over there at High Road. Hi, Lon, I see Lon's here.
Every year that goes by, it's more distorted, so, you know, it's true.
And there's an agenda item tonight to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. And on this, I mean, I don't know if we need to.
Patrick, what do you see for the timing for the building committee at Triton?
So we're probably gonna, we just actually had a meeting on it, this past week, to pick a designer. And so we're looking, the earliest that we would see a number would probably be in the fall of 2027. And the earliest that we would vote on funding it would be in the spring of 2028.
So annual town meeting at the spring of 2028.
Annual
We'd be
town
talking
meeting in
about a
2
building at
years,
Triton.
we could be looking at building this.
So that's something you have to hang out in the future, is something that is gonna converge on the whole plan of this, what you were talking about, Lashwell.
Yep.
And then Whittier will be behind that, perhaps.
No, Whittier, I hope the Commonwealth will pick that
Yeah,
up.
Well,
perhaps.
but
We
until
hope, but-
we find out, that's, hope is not a plan.
I know,
I sat through that meeting that you were at.
yeah.
You think the state's gonna phone you up for that? Come on.
I think they're gonna put it with, the higher education.
Maybe.
That's the governor's vision anyways, I think.
But even if you're talking about a comprehensive proposal that would encompass all of the facility needs, if
It'll come.
Triton's coming in 2028, we need money for the studies now in order
For
to
Triton or
wrap
for,
them all together.
the Triton's one's already done, that's already.
It's already done.
Yeah, there's no,
But you're talking about packaging.
No, I'm
packaging
talking
Yeah,
like
like
a market.
because in
Oh, yeah.
order to get ahead of the 2028 vote, it means that spring of 2027, which is FY '28, it's next spring. And we don't, like, we're sitting here, and it was 2 years ago that we put forth the town hall.
Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago now?
Could have been three.
I think it was
Seems
three.
like it
was
was-
So 3 years we've sat and
away.
just,
Who's counting?
So what are our options? Like, is our option, can we strike this from the cap budget for this year? Is our option, do we revisit this and change this number based on our recommendation? Is this that we break it out and let everyone vote? Like, what can we do here?
So this is a discussion right now with the select board's meeting with the finance committee, we're discussing the warrant. We're taking in information,
Got it.
listening, and then the select board will come together and vote
you guys will vote the warrant.
Got it,
and then you
And then we
guys
will
may-
vote to recommend or not recommend each article.
gotcha, thank you, sorry.
So yeah, we have a couple more
yeah,
go-rounds
so-
before this comes to
And I-
town
thank you.
meeting, but yes.
I kinda wanna make it clear to the public that's watching that, you know, budgeting, operational budgeting is a process. It doesn't just happen January 1, okay, we're gonna get our budget now, let's go. It doesn't work like that. And that's why I know if people that follow us, follow our board meetings, will hear the town administrator came to us, I don't know, end of February, looking for possibly, you know, when she was putting preliminary numbers together, they look much different than they look now. You take the best estimate that you have at the time to make educational guesses, and that educated guesses, and that's how we put this all together. And even after we meet now, when we get to town meeting floor, there's a good chance that some of these numbers may change again, cause that's how that's all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even like, yeah,
happens.
stabilization's one that was at 200,000 when it was put on the warrant, and then the motion at town meeting was for 50
Right,
last year. We've had ones, and we've also had ones that have come off entirely.
yeah,
So just
the select board will move no action
no
on it.
action on one of them.
Just, we don't wanna do it, so, yeah, so it's a big process, and we're in the middle of it, making the sausage.
Article 12? So this proposes our expenditures from free cash. It includes municipal offices security system. That's, it's an internal system, it's for cameras, it would allow for, access to the PD. Panic buttons, alarm panels, door chimes, and the likes, that's for 9,000. The public safety, we updated the town's website, but we have not done the public safety websites, so that's for $6,000 that would incorporate it into the town's website as well. Library needs a new printer. Performance is poor, and it also is not secure. And the historic committee is requesting $3,500 for our celebrations and restorations of maps and the likes. So that all would be coming from free cash.
Can we go back to the capital planning for a question? I have another question that I didn't ask, I'm sorry. For the council on aging transport vehicle for $40,000, we already have the van.
We do.
How come they need this too?
Go ahead. Explain that. What they have is a van that is a pretty large vehicle. For taking one person to a doctor's appointment or something, finding a driver for the van can be very difficult. Whereas if they have a sedan or a small SUV, just about anybody can drive it. And so it just fills in that blank.
Okay,
And it's, what they're looking for is a used, probably a compact vehicle.
okay.
The SUV types are easier for people to get in and out of as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
If I could just ask a question about that as well. So you buy a $40,000 vehicle, do you have to hire an additional person to drive the
No,
vehicle?
I believe their intent is the staff.
Staff
Only will
Staff or
drive it.
volunteers can drive
That
it.
changes liability insurance though too, doesn't it?
No,
No?
if you,
Okay.
There are.
What do the
It'll be
volunteers
all right.
drive now?
pardon?
What do the volunteers drive now?
Own vehicles.
They
They
do.
drive their own cars. And we have one person who is the van driver. And so this would be basically a vehicle that people could come and say, okay, I need you to take Marshall to the doctors. Fine, take the van. Or somebody needs to do something that is, we're not gonna take the large van out for that.
How frequent are these, did they say?
They have said that it's relatively frequent, but I don't have a number for you. And again, if it's not terribly frequent, it'll last a long time. And $40,000, what we have said is certified used, not new.
If they use their current vehicles now, are they reimbursed for mileage?
I don't have an answer for that.
Thank you, Marshall. Sorry to go backwards.
Mines wanna know what's the unpaid bill for UMTC? And I know that this is gonna take a 5/6 majority or something, 4/5 majority to pass, to
9/10.
pay it, 9/10?
9/10 majority. It's for unemployment
Okay.
expenses.
Alright.
So we had a new system was implemented by our vendor and notices weren't issued until after the beginning of the next fiscal year. So that one was missed. It is
Not a treat.
verified and we are responsible for it.
All right,
Cause that's a big number. Usually they're like $78.
yeah, it wasn't a treat.
Okay, and Article 14 is for a new proposal for a reserve compensation fund, and we have our team from the HR board here with us this evening. Chairman Mark Gleckman and Diane Doyle, who is the employee rep, to kind of walk us through this.
Come on up.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mark Kleckman, 28 Riverview Drive. Here at the lectern in my official capacity as Chair of the HR Board. I'm joined this evening by Diane Doyle, another of the longtime members of the HR Board and one of our two employee representatives to the board. And we're here to just share a few thoughts about where the concept for this warrant article came from, and I promise to be brief, but happy to answer any questions you may have. The idea for this reserve compensation fund was born out of an exercise that we did back in late summer, early fall, along with an outside municipal compensation and classification consultant who came in and did us an exhaustive study for us, looking at how we classify our roles, all employees of the town, what our compensation plan looks like. And what we asked this consultant to do is to, pick at that program to see what its strengths were, what its weaknesses might be, and how we can make it better going forward. And the result of that was a new classification system, which we've now been using for the last couple of months, which is more robust. I think better serves the needs of the towns and its employees. But what also came out of it is a conclusion that while Newbury in general has done a fine job with its compensation program. Clearly, we have fallen below the marketplace, if you will. Not across the board, but in looking at a number of positions in town, we fall below competitive communities around us in both the entry level, the midpoint, and the max. Not dramatically so, but enough that it caught our attention. And as a result of that, we've been chewing on an idea for the past few months of creating this reserve compensation fund. We've spoken at length with Tracy about it. And what we try to do in the creation of this fund is to answer two basic questions. One is, how can Newbury be forward-thinking about the challenges of hiring, training, and most importantly, keeping valued long-term employees? The second question is, how does the town, if it chooses to, how does the town ensure that the fund is created and administered with the proper checks and balances, it's practical in its use, and most importantly, allows town meeting voters the ultimate authority here of approving or denying the fund. I don't have the article in front of me, but I understand it's really quick, one paragraph. And my hope is that if you choose to move forward with this article, that the corresponding warrant explanation will flesh out a lot of the details.
Do you want me
Give
to
three
read,
or
do you
four
want me to read it to
specific
you?
examples of when this fund might be used.
Do you wanna hear the wording of the article?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to hear the wording of the article to determine if it does address what you want it
The
to
warrant
address?
explanation of the article itself?
Just the article.
The article itself,
Okay. The article itself, my understanding was fairly brief.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
does it, okay,
Yeah, the warrant
It's a-
explanation that I assume will come with it will give much greater detail about, where the money's coming from. Examples of the specific needs that might come up for the use of this fund.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, the warrant explanations usually get drafted by, because it's a finance committee booklet, so what we would do is work in conjunction with Tracy to come up with the language on that, and then we end up voting it as the finance committee
Right.
to get the appropriations
And
thing.
we're more than happy to lend a hand there if
Excellent.
our
Yeah, so
services
who
are
would,
needed.
I guess that's the thing, is that what would the process for withdrawing money from this look like?
What the process look like?
Yeah, so if you needed to take $5,000 out of this reserve
Right.
compensation fund, who would make that, who
Oh,
would
okay.
vote on
Okay,
that? Cause
yeah.
the finance committee the reserve fund,
Mm-hmm.
only we can vote that money. So how does this 25 get voted out?
Right. We look at it as a 2 and potentially a 3-step approval process.
Okay.
Which again, makes it, I think, fiscally more prudent and more importantly, it gives town meeting voters a peace of mind that this isn't just a willy-nilly expenditure of funds, whether it's $5 or $5,000. So the understanding is that a department manager might come to Tracy indicating a need based on certain criteria that have been established for the use of the fund. Tracy would need to approve it. From there, it would need to go to the select board for second level of approval. And on the rare occasion where the HR board might be asked to weigh in, we would be a third vetting process. Again, the HR board does not have any jurisdiction over compensation matters per se, other than the fact that we set the table, if you will.
Tracy is.
We are certainly there at any point in time you need us to advise and consult on whether this is an appropriate use of the funds. So there would be specific criteria under which the funds could be used. There'll be a 2 or sometimes a 3-step process of approval before any expenditure is made from the fund. Every year, the town will create a report at the end of the fiscal year talking about the uses of that fund, with an understanding that and this is critically important, any money that remains in the fund at the end of the fiscal year would revert back to free cash. And each year, town meeting will have the opportunity to vote yes or no to recreate the fund in the subsequent year. So in effect, this is a one-year test to see if it's an effective use of the funds that have been appropriated from free cash. The hope, in fact, the expectation is that in many years, there will be no money expended from this fund. As Tracy has talked to us about often, it's rare when you may need to use $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever it may be for the purposes of keeping a valued employee in his or her seat. By the way, as I was listening to that robust conversation before, I should, as I say, as a 50-year resident of this town, I very much appreciate that robust conversation about capital needs. Our job is to look at another kind of a capital, human capital needs. This town, I think, has been blessed for many years with great employees, high-quality employees, long-lasting employees, loyal employees. But there always comes a time when even the most loyal employee may be enticed to go elsewhere in the very competitive municipal marketplace. Or perhaps someone's role has significantly changed, has taken on increasing responsibilities as a result of a reorg, and perhaps more money is needed in a very challenging budget environment, as you folks have been talking about for the last hour. And so we understand that there may be years that funds are appropriated from this municipal compensation fund. We hope that there are years where no money is used from it, in which case the entire $25,000, if that's the number that town meeting votes on every year, would go right back into free cash. Very transparent. Hopefully, everybody feels it's a practical need and one that's important to make sure that we maintain the balance of a great employee population.
So the most common application, this is essentially a counteroffer fund? Basically.
Counteroffer fund, sometimes we have issues that pop up in CBAs. They might cross fiscal years. We had a situation happen that kind of brought this to light. This past year, we had an assistant position that was a very strong employee who left to go to another community. And before I could even prepare a reserve fund transfer to bring before you guys, it was kind of already resolved.
So this would decrease the time
It would allow us
and
to
then
be a
to
player.
act a little
You know,
more,
really.
a
Yeah,
little
no,
more
bless you.
quickly.
Cause I'm gonna say, I know we've seen reserve fund transfers in the past few years, every once in a while, we'll see one about this. But it hasn't been.
Just a quick question, comment first, I like the phrasing or the framing of it as being a one-year thing that we're gonna try out and see if it works, cause I mean, I hope it works, but the 25,000, what, how did you come up with that particular number? You know, why not 50, why not 10, what's the?
We initially had 50.
Well, what we tried to balance was the potential for need with the likelihood of passage at town meeting, frankly.
Yep.
And there's no magic number here. It could have been 50. We were batting, as Tracy, we were batting 25 to 50. We felt that, especially given the fact that, as an example, in this previous year, Tracy indicated there probably would have been no funds appropriated from that fund. And so we thought 25K was a prudent number, a number that hopefully town meeting voters would look at and say, it's reasonable. By the way, it represents, I believe, the $25,000 figure represents less than 1/2 of 1% of the overall wage budget anticipated for FY '27. So it's a small ask. It's a big number, but it's a small ask. I guess that's also less than 1% of free cash. I understand you've already been talking about, all the challenges associated with free cash, but this is our baby and this is.
Is there any other communities around us that have this fund?
There are some. We started to do a little bit of homework on that and realized that digging at that was a challenge in and of itself. A number of towns have it, but they have it as a line item as part of their operating budget. And my understanding, and I'm married 55 years, my wife doesn't let me near the checkbook. So when it comes to budgetary issues, I'm gonna turn it over to the experts here, the subject matter experts. But my understanding is, because of the way Newbury does its budgeting, it would have required us to create reserve compensation funds in each of the budget categories.
Every department
Every
would have
department
to
would have
have
to
one.
have
Every department would
reserve.
have, and
Okay.
that would have become a bureaucratic nightmare. So we came up with this as a creative solution to make it one bucket. In theory, any department with proper justification could go to a manager and ultimately to Tracy, and I should say ultimately then to Tracy, then to the select board for your approval. So a two-step approval process, maybe a third with HR involved. We're hoping that this would give town meeting voters comfort, appreciation for the fact that human capital, while the numbers aren't as large perhaps as they are for some of the physical capital needs that the town has, it's just as important to make sure that we maintain a workforce that continues to provide exceptional quality service to the residents of Newbury, Byfield, and Plum Island.
So I have one more question. Why did you choose the select board to be the second authority? Like the reserve fund transfer right now is the finance committee. Like why wouldn't this sit with the finance committee as well?
So we did think about it, but it seemed to make more sense where you're the appointing authority. And I do all the reporting to you when there's new hires, and it could lay with either board.
I would also say that the frequency with which the select board meets is more timely to these types of decisions. If we are putting together 7 of us to approve something for this in a month, then we have no other business. There's certain months of the year that we aren't, you all are.
Don't even meet.
There's certain, in January, we didn't meet. So this would be something that I think you guys would be able to act more timely, nimble, to achieve, because that's the thing, if it could have been a reserve fund transfer, reserve fund transfer, and there was not enough time for that, then our board would slow the process down.
Okay. Thank you.
Diane, anything to
I
add?
just wanna add, Frank, obviously it's, we set the budget, as you're discussing now, we set the budget. Those salaries in many of those departments are set at budget time. And we do see that within the work that we do here, a lot of times our departments are very thinly staffed. And we're being asked to take on more responsibility and more things that come across our desk, whether they be mandates or what have you. So this was an opportunity to address, and again, just to clarify, there would have to be a justified need, increase in hours, or looking at the compensation for that particular position. And the last thing I would say is that, again, many of the departments are thinly staffed, and rather than lose a skilled, seasoned professional, be more cost effective to be able to utilize a fund like this to retain and or support increased needs in those departments. So that's sort of the key points that I take away from why we think this is imperative, especially in light of the budget that you're discussing. One could argue, well, 25,000 is on top of all the different items that you're discussing, but I think that it's important to retain the staff and the skilled level that you have, rather than have to increase your staff.
Yeah, no, I had assumed, when I read it, I assumed counteroffer fund, because I know that Tracy had tried to jump through some hoops for somebody last year, I think, and the idea that somebody's gonna postpone their other potential employers, well, I gotta wait till I gotta wait till town meeting to see if I can. And if I can, then I'm not gonna take your job, that's not.
We tried to make this as time sensitive as we possibly could while still maintaining the integrity of a two-step approval process.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you,
Thanks, Diane.
The next sections are the citizens petitions. We have received those 2 petitions to date, one relative to the ASCARs. And the second one was requesting the use of free cash to pay educational assessments in the amount of $500,000.
Quick question, this was Article 15 says a resubmit.
It didn't pass.
It didn't pass last time? Is that why?
This is different from the one that was presented before. This is regulating it on private property.
Right, that's what, yeah, that's why I'm like, it's a resubmit of a
Yeah,
home rule
I
petition. I'm kinda confused by that, but,
Yeah.
alright,
Yep,
okay.
How is this?
and they're
I
suggesting
don't
that
wanna get into
the,
it, but how is it enforceable?
well, they're
We send
suggesting.
SCAR inspectors to.
They're suggesting that the Board of Health be the inspectors, and we have one.
One, yeah, so we're gonna have one health inspector looking to, okay.
So it would certainly need a whole team, I would imagine, and I'm not sure how they would report it or what. Yeah, it's.
Okay.
I make sure nobody's using rat poison.
Yeah, okay. And I noticed that on 15, it says who inserted at the request of, is that because of the language they submitted?
That was the language they submitted,
Okay.
but when town council reviewed, and provided some feedback today, she suggested that we put language in here, which has already been updated, that says it was submitted by Jack Rybicki and I believe 12 citizens.
That's for 16?
16.
For 16.
For 16,
yes.
okay. All right, and then that, and his 16 is frankly unnecessary if we pass Article 4.
Correct.
Right, and also, I also kind of think that we'd voted to take it from free cash. That's, okay, that is one thing. To fully fund such assessments and thereby approve the district's budgets for the year that's a step too far. Is that isn't the vote, we can't vote the school district's budget in a citizen's petition.
So what happens when
It's
we
like-
receive citizens petitions is we have to take the language as
As they put it,
submitted.
okay. It's like asking for money to put in a gate that you can't put in. Right?
So has town council reviewed this article yet?
Yes,
And she approves the language, or?
we don't approve the language.
No.
So.
Yeah, it just
It's
goes, this is the
presented
language.
as submitted.
If this passes, the 500,000 would go into the operating budget. It wouldn't be expended,
It would be closed out.
and it would be closed out as free cash at the end. Okay.
Confusion.
It is confusing.
It's confusing, it's redundant. and
It's
confusing.
redundant, it's confusing, and it's disappointing.
Unnecessary.
It's disappointing when, you know, this has happened to us a couple of times in the past with other residents, not just Mr. Rybicki, but other residents that, they don't understand the process, they don't understand how municipal governance work, they don't understand how the process goes, and then they put these things up here and it's just confusing, so we'll just have to speak to this article. Need to control the narrative.
If Article 4 passes, would there be an opportunity for whoever put this Article 6 on here, the citizen to actually step forward and repeal their?
Withdraw it.
Withdraw.
That would be an option?
Move no action.
You could move them, someone could move it, no action.
Someone has to be the person that, one of those?
No, and anyone can.
Anyone.
I mean, whoever presents these can withdraw them at any time between now and, so you're not gonna be signing the actual warrant until the 14th. So there's an opportunity to withdraw them between now and then, or if it's not withdrawn and it remains on, you could move, someone could move no action, pass over it.
So based on what we discussed tonight and based on what's in Article 4, to your point, it's redundant. So there's the time to remove it before town meeting, or even if it gets to town meeting, to wait for the vote, to just take this off the table. Okay.
So Article 17 is in relation to the meals tax, so this is taking the formal vote at town meeting. In the hopes of collecting about $68,000-$70,000 a year in meals taxes.
Don't we already
So
have
is this
this?
0.75% or 75 cents on a bill?
0.75%.
So the
0.75%.
percent, okay.
So that needs to be added, the percentage needs to come in
Percentage,
here.
yep.
And then,
Thank you.
did we,
So how you get to
Didn't we-
70 grand for
didn't we-
75 cents
didn't
a
we-
bill?
Didn't we already
The
put
select
it?
board approved it.
We're
Oh, the
only
select board
just-
approved it, but we haven't put it in front of town, got it,
Right.
okay. All right, so this is the town meetings, like, that will go in the rationale is that it's already been approved and that the amount expected is 68 to 70K paid for by those individuals who choose to
Dine.
dine in our town.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
And we know that Newburyport has, they have this as well.
They
They
do.
do.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And then 18 is a
Is-
lodging tax.
And I see that is for short-term rentals, so that list of short-term rentals, those individuals could then, they'd be adding, they could add 6% to their rental in order to collect this and pass it
Right.
back to us.
Right.
Okay.
And that's passed on to the guests, obviously, and there's also an application fee, a $250 application fee, which could bring in about another $40,000, but given the lists that we've received from the state, we're finding out that a lot of them are no longer doing it, or
Okay.
these properties have sold, so the list isn't great, but it has the potential to bring in another 40,000 from the application fees. So, yeah, so Article 19 was submitted by the police chief. It's basically a solicitor bylaw. It was at the request of some residents because we're seeing more and more people in town. And this requires them to be vetted by the police department before they're allowed to go out canvassing around town.
Didn't they always have to before? Wasn't that always, did you have to check in with the police if you were gonna go door to door?
In most towns that have this bylaw, we just didn't
We
have it.
ne- we-
not
So that's.
Really? We never
somebody
had-
knocks on your door and said,
Yeah.
you want to come on.
I had somebody come
It's
through.
solar
Sell.
panels, it's always something.
Then you get people posting out on Facebook of like, hey, did you see this person walking
Oh,
around with a
God.
clipboard?
Right.
Yeah.
Says he's from Farley.
So, but,
Exactly.
I have a question on this one.
Ella
How
needs-
does
Ella
the solicitor
matches
know that he
their
has to go do that
regulations.
now?
I'm kind of.
That and,
When someone calls,
did anyone
we'll send them
recognize
to the
this
police
dog?
department.
That's how.
That's what's happening.
That's what I don't.
Police
Leave him
get
alone.
all the
It's like,
calls.
the two are-
Okay.
So,
He looks hungry.
Good question.
so Article 20 is the Lowell Green Study Committee. This has not had its public hearing yet, so that's occurring in April on, is that right?
I believe it's April 13th.
April 13th, but town council has come back with some amendments. She had identified some concerns, so she's gonna be offering amended language to the Lowell Green Historic Study Committee.
Is that gonna be ready for town meeting?
I hope so.
If
We've been
not,
working on this 2.5 years.
I know.
That's
But
nothing.
in your defense, I believe the Massachusetts Historical Commission held you guys up for a little bit.
Right, we had somebody that was gonna give us 2-week turnaround on the review, and they quit before we got it to them.
Yeah.
And then it took months, and we missed the meeting last year.
yeah, for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep. It was
This is,
bad.
yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
Any of the,
this is already facing a rough road, I'm afraid, with a 2/3 majority on this. Nobody is in the local historic district unless they wanna be. Everybody there is thumbs up.
okay.
I visited 3 of them last week. Everybody wants to be in it.
Full disclosure on, in the proposed district.
How many residences in the proposed district?
8 or 10 residences total, or is it far more than that?
There's more than 10, but two of them are cemeteries. So I don't know,
They don't have a lot to say.
12 rings a bell, so 10 sounds right. 2 cemeteries.
So about a dozen residences in the.
And they're all surrounding, in either the approaches to or surrounding the green.
Gotcha.
Tracy, is there any financial
Sorry.
implications of any of the bylaws changes?
Well, certainly
The ones, other two that we've already gone,
other than
but
those.
beyond this.
Article
this-
21 is the proposal that's already been approved by
Yep.
the select board, changing the zoning board appeals
Yes.
membership. And then we get to Article 22, and we have the chairman of our planning board, Woody Knight, who's here to kind of discuss the rest of the warrant. And Martha Taylor, I think, oh yeah, she is there, okay.
Hide behind the podium.
Okay, former planner Martha Taylor.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for considering the articles. I believe it's 21 through 25. Martha, the special projects planner, has been working on this now, the second year of the recodification of a lot of our stuff, and then I'll leave it to her to explain some more. She's been working hard at it, so. Here's her report. And thank you.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll try to make this really brief. I know we've got a lot to talk about, and the zoning stuff is quite a lot, so I'll try to make it a little more simple. So Article 21, as Tracy already mentioned, that's the increase in the membership of the ZBA. And that's already, you guys are familiar with that. As part of the zoning process, the planning board is required to hold a public hearing on any proposed zoning amendments. So that was referred to the planning board for public hearing. The public hearing was held at the last meeting on March 18th, and the board voted to recommend that. So that's, formally coming back to you. The next, what we're calling a new article, is on inclusionary zoning, and this is something that this is Article 22 on the warrant. It's something that the board has been talking about for many, many, many years as a potential bylaw amendment to help increase affordable housing within the town. Our approach is a little bit different. In discussion with town council, we came to the conclusion that it would be best, rather than requiring any developer of developments over a certain number to actually include an affordable unit, it would be to incentivize them to do it. So the way we've written the bylaw is anybody who's doing 4 or more units can provide if they have provided an affordable unit, they can get an incentive of 1 market rate unit. So and that number is, if it's 80% of the area median income, it would be 1. If it's 60% of the area median income, they could potentially get 2 bonus units. So the hope is that this will actually be a mechanism for increasing our affordable housing. We've already had a few initiatives, the accessory dwelling unit update, which we had last year, and the MBTA communities, which we had the year before, so. That is the next one. Then Article 23 is the start of what we're calling the recodification articles. And we're dealing with that a little bit differently than we have in the past in discussing with town council, because the recodification basically includes almost every single article in the zoning bylaw. We've created a separate booklet that the article language in the warrant will refer to. And that includes the language of, it's Articles 2 through 11 that are actually involved in the recodification. So it includes the language of all of those. And it involves things like cleaning up zoning district boundary descriptions, and there are no changes to the boundaries, but the descriptions are being updated, moving definitions that are specific to certain
sections of the bylaw, such as wind energy, moving them from the back of the bylaw to within that particular section. Some language that town council has recommended to bring it into sort of current practice, compliance with Mass General Law, things like that. Some changes that have been made to agree with current practice of the zoning board of appeals, for example. We have language in the zoning bylaw right now about findings, but almost everything they do is a special permit. So I'm happy to go through the changes in more detail if you'd like to, but I also don't want to get into the weeds for you too much. The next article, so Article 24, is the second part of the recodification, which is changes to the table of use regulations. We took a look at it in terms of some of the uses, but probably the biggest change is recommending change to the special permit granting authority to really put it mostly on the land use boards. In other words, the planning board and the zoning board of appeals. There were a number of uses in there, special permits granted by the select board, and that was really a holdover from previous iterations of the bylaw. So in almost all cases, and in some cases, the same use was in some districts, special permit by the select board, in other districts, special permit by the planning board. So we've tried to make it more consistent and again, sort of put that in the hands of the land use boards, because the select board really deals with other kinds of permitting, licensing, and that kind of stuff. And there were some changes that were made to agree with changes that were voted in previous years, in particular MBTA communities and the accessory dwelling bylaw. And then the next one, and maybe the biggest change, Article 25, proposes that we put all of our clean energy related bylaws, the wind bylaws and solar bylaw, and a new battery energy storage bylaw into a new article. So this would become Article 11, and then the following articles would be renumbered accordingly. There are not many changes proposed to the large wind and small wind. Solar has been largely reorganized and updated to become consistent with kind of two things. One is case law, which has basically said that solar is a protected use and needs to be allowed within, a certain amount of town by right, as opposed to requiring it by special permit everywhere. And also last year, or 2 years ago now, the state passed 2024 Climate Act, which is establishing a consolidated permitting process. So this change to the bylaw is intended to be consistent with that process. So it also includes the new battery energy storage bylaw, and that looks at battery energy storage in terms of its storage capacity and has 3 tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, depending on the amount of storage capacity that it has, and also whether it's accessory to a use and being fed by solar, or whether it's being fed by the grid. So those are the 5 articles that are being proposed. And we did hold, the planning board held its public hearing on March 4th for the recodification articles and the inclusionary zoning article in order to recommend. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions if you have them.
In the draft article, is it the highlighted yellow parts, is that a typo? Articles 23, 23, and 25, should that be 23, 24, and 25?
Probably.
Okay.
Thank you, yeah, it's been going back and forth a little bit.
It's in a couple of places.
Yeah, we'll be double checking all of that and cleaning it up. Thanks for catching that. Any questions?
Thanks, Martha, thanks, Woody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Artie.
So we're gonna pick up, I think, at 2026 business licenses. Would you like to go?
We are going to close, I will entertain a motion to close the finance committee meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. This group will reconvene on Tuesday, April 7th, where we will discuss this, start our draft rationales. We will not vote on our recommendations until after the select board has set the warrant.
Okay.
That is set for April 21st right now.
That's when you're gonna vote.
That's when we're gonna vote. You guys are gonna probably, 14th is you all, then in fact, I'm gonna not be around, I'm gonna be in London.
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, finance committee. Thank you, thank you. Can you get by?
Good.
You wanna take a 5-minute break or?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break.
It goes beyond useful life.
Where are we now?
If my check marks are okay.
Business
down to
licenses.
2000 business license renewals.
Yep.
We did the election markers,
Yep.
business license renewals,
Then the new one, then the public property use.
and then the high road, okay.
Oh.
Are we probably only
Okay,
have
we're
10
good to go?
minutes left?
Okay, let's pick up now and we're gonna review and approve the 2026 business license renewals. So let's have a motion to go through that list.
I move that we review and approve the 2026 business license renewals.
In tandem or all together?
We can read them all together.
All together, please.
Can you second?
Second.
Thank you.
All those in, no, not yet. Boat Restoration, Ralph Johnson Jr., President, doing business as Pert Lowell Company, Incorporated at Lane's End. General Business Bait Shop, Elizabeth Moulton dash Cowie and Martha Moulton, doing business as Surfland Bait and Tackle LLC at 30 Plum Island Boulevard.
That's it?
Any discussion of these two licenses renewals? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, review and approve new 2026 business licenses.
I move that we review and approve the 2026 new business license for the used car dealer's license, Class 2 to Anthony Sabatino, DBA Auto Barn at 2 Highfield Road, for internet sales by appointment only.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. As a public property use request from Tom Woodruff on behalf of the Governor's Academy from Middle Road to hoist 4 floats and gangway into the river.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Old business. 25 High Road, historical significance.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to direct the Assistant Town Administrator to submit a demolition application to the building inspector pursuant to bylaw, chapter 65, section 4, for the old town hall at 25 High Road.
Need a second, please?
No, second.
Any discussion? I believe this is what formally kicks off what your committee needed to move out and do that study.
Right.
No
That's
more,
why
no
you
less.
guys couldn't go forward on on one of your meetings, right?
I'm sorry, what?
That's why you couldn't go forward on one of the meetings.
Right, because all the explanations were in there, so we couldn't consider it because we weren't sure what was gonna happen to it. It wasn't a demolition, it was, the question actually to us was, is it a significant structure? And the answer was, yes, it's in a historic district. So that was easy. Now the question is it preferably preserved? And we have all the criteria for that.
Perfect.
And then we'll discuss that and then there'll be a vote, I guess.
How long a period of time do you have to?
There's a time period in the demolition
30
derby
days, I think,
bylaw
or
65.
50, I don't know.
65?
The days are spelled out, I'm not sure what it is, but
I don't even
if you
know.
look at bylaw 65, it spells it out. Time limits, hearings, the timing of
The whole
hearings, so on and so
process,
forth. The whole
right?
process, exactly.
I've already done the whole preliminary one, but that I'll present to the group.
Any more questions about this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
So, okay, passes 3-1.
So I'll go home.
Good night.
Thank you, Lon.
Good night. Oh, by the way, Annette, thank you for the Kit Kat.
Excuse me.
Enjoy dinner. Okay.
Meeting updates. Leslie, anything?
I went to the capital planning last week, and basically, the discussion that we had this evening was what was discussed as far as the fire department, the COA, things of that nature. And I didn't make it to the ACES meeting this week, but I didn't bring my notes with me, but Sadie did update me with notes from Deb Rogers, because she has some information as far as that's concerned for as they like to call it, waste watchers, and for the waste management. And so there were some really good explanations on what we're doing, how, like, even the recycling at Mellow began, how we, and all of that, and how we can go further on that to be a greener community.
Okay. Anything? No? Patrick?
As I mentioned earlier, we had a meeting with the Triton School Building Committee, a subcommittee of the Triton School Building Committee to talk about the designer selection. And the only thing I would share that I think was important was, as you know, it is a middle school and a high school, and so the designer that is most likely to be selected has done a number of middle schools, which I think was actually good, so that they have the experience of how do you blend a middle school into a high school while still keeping a middle school separate. So I think that's a good qualification, and apparently they have worked with, there was that list of all the subcontractors that they would use, and a lot of the subcontractors on that list were already companies that Triton has been using before for other things, and so it looks like it's going forward really smooth.
There's a lot of continuity there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's like a lot of people are nervous about their kids coming out of elementary and going into middle and being blended in with high school kids.
Yeah,
The age difference and the maturity difference.
Right. And for me, talking to or looking at the designer's submission was seeing that they had done middle school so that they could clearly architecturally and design, and through a purposeful design, have a separation of the schools on the same campus and like sharing, the things that need to be shared. But at least some sort of intentionally designed physical separation of middle school and high school, so. Yeah, so.
Are they recording those, Patrick, so they can be watched on YouTube?
And this one was at the, this was just a subcommittee to review the design submissions, and it was at the high school in the central office conference room, so if there was a camera on, I didn't notice it, but, yeah. And there were people, it was, Narissa from the school committee, somebody who was there as a sort of a citizen rep from the district,
Raleigh?
and then from Raleigh or just from Triton,
Oh,
and then myself, and then like the superintendent, the principal, all that stuff.
Yeah. Was Mike Colburn there?
No, not in that one.
I have a bunch. The last time we met was on March 3rd. On March 4th, Tracy and I both went to the Regional Agreement Amendment Committee at Northeast Community College, and that work is proceeding. On the 5th, I went to the DCC meeting. You were there in Salisbury. Okay.
Yeah, that was,
And you were there as well,
mhm,
and Patrick was there as well.
that was exciting.
Fifth, let's see, 3, 4. On the 10th, I was at Peter Hall. We had a meeting about a memo of understanding of how to use Peter Hall, which was the second installment of meetings, soon to go to 3, I'm sure, maybe. On the 12th, I attended an affordable housing meeting with some citizens. On the 8th, I did a networking meeting with Raleigh and Salisbury Select Board people. 2 from Raleigh, Mike from Salisbury. Number 7, on the 19th, I was at the Eastern Essex Veterans District meeting. We got an $11,295 refund because they had accumulated $150,000 worth of money that wasn't spent over past years. So it kind of like, you know, I asked questions about it, and that money was divided up amongst the 6 districts. Okay, that was on the 19th. And we also voted Topsfield into that district, so the district is now 7 municipalities. Our assessment for 2027 is $32,212.99. It's slightly more than $1,000 less than last year's, I think, only because Topsfield joined and there were more people to spread the money against. That was 7. On the 20th, Friday, I went to the MMA legislative meeting which was held in Boxford, and we listened to what was being told about the state's inability to help us with education,
Yeah.
more or less. Sorry to say it like that, but
What did they say?
it was the
Same old, same old?
they weren't there, the reps were there. Kasner was not there, and Tara was not there as well, so their reps were there, but MMA put on a really good presentation and talked about what they're lobbying for, you know, which is all stuff, and we're encouraged to try to support them in their lobbying activity. I did go on the 10th to the ACES meeting, the Waste Watchers meeting, that was session 2. Sadie was there, and I stayed there for about 2 hours, but I did not go to the breakout sessions. So it was a busy month for me, and that is it.
Wow.
How about a motion to review and approve meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion for warrants, to approve warrants?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone opposed to that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.